toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are so glad to have you guys on board because it's a very special show as we do number 314. It is our annual pipe show, and we missed last year's annual pipe show. I think the date it was scheduled, I was sick, and we had to cancel the show that week.
Yeah, you got sick.
And we just never got the pipe show rescheduled.
a few days before, and then we never got a chance to reschedule it.
So we've had pipe shows almost every year, other than that one year that we missed. And this time we decided to really do it right. Instead of just me and Ian hanging out and smoking pipes, which we will be doing, we decided to come to the most expert pipe place we know of in our surrounding area. And that's why our show today is originating from the Briar Shoppe in Rice Village of Houston, Texas. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the oldest tobacconist in the Houston area.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They've been here forever.
Been around for years, and
Obviously,
I don't know what the numbers are, but we'll have Bill on a little later. We'll have James showing us stuff, and they'll know all that information. We would get that. But I've been coming here since to one location or another of it since the 90s.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a really fun show because we're going to have the opportunity to get pipe tips from guys that really know. Not that I'm saying you don't really know.
Oh no, there are people that know more than me. That's fine. I understand.
You're my own in my circle of friends. You know more about pipes than anybody that I know. But these guys are really.
I can sum it all up in 2 words.
Yeah.
Pipe's good.
Pipe's good. I like it. I like the way you think. So today's pipe show 2023, and we're also going to talk about something that I think is really important. We touched on in the month of January the phenomenon known as dry January. And how this generally works is people in December.
I'm pretty sure I failed at that.
Yeah. I was really good up until January 1st, and that was when I kind of fell off the dry January wagon. But what happens is that people during the holidays, during Christmas and New Year's, have a tendency, generally to drink more, perhaps than they do other times, because they're at parties or they're having eggnog or special wine with Christmas dinner or whatever it might be. So the concept behind dry January is that they all take a month-long break from drinking and kind of like see if that will rehabilitate their system, which there's plenty of science that shows that doesn't do it. Like if you're really going to go all teetotaling and you want to see the change that makes on your body, it takes more than
1 month.
Yeah, but in any case, dry January has become a thing. But dry January, despite the fact that neither you or I were very good participants in it, dry January is over, and that's why here today on Smokin' and Toastin', the radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza, we are hereby declaring this month Imperial February.
I was going to say moist February, but I like Imperial better.
Imperial February. And in keeping with that, we're going to have today a Russian Imperial Stout that I think is going to be mind-blowing. It's from our friends at Ingenious Brewing.
Those guys are so crazy.
And they're so creative and so crazy, and they have a Turtle Power Russian Imperial Stout.
And Turtle Power it is.
And I'll tell you how much Turtle Power there is. It's 14%
That's
ABV.
big.
Yeah.
That's
so
big.
We're kicking off Imperial February right. That's how we're doing it. We also have a couple of slightly lighter brews from Belching Beaver Brewery. We'll be trying their Damn Good Decade. It's a Terps IPA. Belching Beaver is from Oceanside, California. And these guys are kind of crazy as well.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're peanut butter stout. If you see their peanut butter stout, pick it up. It's so good.
It'd be good for Imperial February, would it not?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. And then finally, and before I set up this next beer, Ian, it'll be the first one we try today. It's a Vienna-Style lager called Vamos, and it is the Cruz Blanca.
And so you
Vamos,
had to get
Imperial lager. Well, let me just say I wanted to be fair. So I scoured every beer store, every grocery store, every place that sells beer. I have scoured the city, and Houston's a very big city, and there's beers from all over the world that you can buy here. And I could not find one Ian beer.
Well,
There is a Cruz beer, however. The Cruz Blanca. Vamos. You may notice, by the way, that I'm saying all this before I've tried it, so let's hope it's good, right?
well, we're going to have to fix that. I'm going to have
Yeah.
to start speaking with some breweries around here and see if we can come up with a
Well,
Ian Stout.
We've talked about getting together with the brewery and doing a special
or an
smoking
Ian
and
Porter,
toasting.
but that sounds like I'm working.
Yeah, it does. You could have the porter's cap on and everything. We've talked about getting a special smoking and toasting beer,
Mm-hmm.
releasing that. So maybe it will be called the Ian Special or
There you go.
something. We'll do yours will be the barley wine. That's what
Mine will be the IPA that's actually just a barley wine.
Yeah, exactly. We'll call it an IPA, but it'll really be just a barley wine. So we have all of that to try. Plus, Adam, our producer in the sky, he and his wife recently got back from Thailand. And they did not bring me rum from Thailand, but I found rum from Thailand at Specs. And so we're going to try it today. It is the Rum Explorer 5-year Thailand rum.
That's crazy sounding.
Now, it's bottled in France, but apparently the ingredients, the sugarcane used in the rum, come from Thailand. So
Okay.
that's why they...
so it's all sourced from Thailand.
Yeah, sourced from
Nice.
Thailand. So we'll be looking forward to that. Plus, going to tell you all about the new non-Cuban Cohiba that's about to come out that will only set you back $100.
That's
It's
it, huh?
not a Cuban. So we'll talk about that for you. But, really, we have to admit, the high point of the show for me today will be listening to these guys talk about pipes
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
learning
absolutely.
everything that I can learn. Because I don't know that much about pipes. I have a pipe. I enjoy smoking it. And I've learned a lot from you on these pipe shows. But today I'm excited to learn from some pipe experts. But that'll be my favorite part of the show. What happens, though, is that many viewers and listeners' favorite part of the show winds up being something we do later in the show, a little thing we like to call Drinking News. And in Drinking News, we bring you stories that sometimes involve drinking, news stories, but are always best enjoyed when you've been drinking. And today's Drinking News teaser headline: Dude, that car is really sexy. And we'll get to that coming up later on in the show. So, Ian, I have always been a big fan of the Briar Shoppe. I've shopped here for really as long as I've been having cigars, smoking cigars, which I started smoking cigars really in the 90s. So
Yeah.
I think both of us have dated back to them. But these guys have a very impressive cigar humidor. But as far as pipes go, I think they've got probably the best selection of pipes, accessories.
More pipes than
and
anybody in the
tobacco.
area.
Yeah, it's kind of unrivaled. And I think Jong may have done a shot of that. Maybe we'll show that here, just some of their pipes and pipe accessories, just the sheer magnitude of
Yeah.
what they have here. And what I really like about coming here is that I just really enjoy trying new styles of pipe tobacco, and they've got so much to choose from here.
You know, one of the cool things too, when you come into a tobacconist like this, they have you can buy the canned tobaccos from Peterson and some and McBaron and some other brands like that, and they have those on the shelf ready to go. Those are nice, especially if you're traveling, because it keeps them nice and moisturized the way you want it, things like
Right.
that. But they have jars of blends, and a few of them are special house blends and things like that. And you can literally just go open the jar and give it a nose. And if you're hanging out here, a lot of times they'll give you a pinch to try in your pipe.
Yep.
And you could just try it and see if you like it and move on to another one and smoke, just like a quarter bowl of here and there. And then when you find it, you can buy an ounce or 2 ounce or, 75 ounces if you really want. But
Kind of like when you go to Baskin Robbins and they give you that little spoon.
the little sample. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So yeah, I mean, but you'll know kind of what you're interested in just by nosing it. And then the next level is you might try a little pinch of it, and then you can buy whatever you want at that point.
Now, for those of you who are obviously not from the Houston area, and we have tons of viewers and listeners that are not, your city or your closest city, if you're a more rural listener or viewer, probably has a shop similar to this that is kind of the specialty pipe place for your area. And if you're ever in Houston, you must come and visit the Briar
This
Shoppe
place is
if
great.
you're-
The
if you're into
atmosphere here
pipes.
is fantastic. It's
You
so
were
fun
mentioning
to hang out.
this. I just loaded my pipe up with this, which is the Sunset Rum. But you can see that's the little Briar Shoppe baggie that they let you put it in. But they've got these, like you said, they're in the tubs, and you're able to go in, take a nice full smell of it, see if it appeals to you, and they'll even give you a little pinch to put in your pipe if you want to make sure it's what you want.
It's so fun.
Very exciting.
And my go-to pipe tobacco is one that they have here. It's one of their house blends called the Accountant. And that one's, to me, that one, I love the aromatic. It's so fun, and that's my go-to. I love a lot of other pipe tobaccos, but like in my pipe pouch and my little accessory bag here is Accountant right off the bat.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, I have a pipe basic question to ask you, and I think maybe you can answer this. If not, we'll ask the guys. When I smoke a cigar, I always try to make sure that it doesn't go out, because some cigars have relight penalties, as we've talked about. That when you light it back up again, it can get a little harsh. So we try to smoke it regularly enough, and
you tend it
to make sure that it stays burning. Now, that's not necessarily the same with pipe tobacco, is it?
Not necessarily. Like, it's nice when you have a bowl that smokes from beginning to end, but it's not necessary. Relighting a pipe is not as big a deal as like trying to relight a cigar.
So I want to ask you then, because I may be doing something wrong. I seem to have to relight my pipe all the time.
You're in luck, buddy.
Yeah?
Because in our next segment, we're going to have Mr. James come over here and show us exactly how to do it. I have my method.
Does it have to do with the fact that I'm maybe not loading the pipe?
It could be a number of things. It could be how tight your tobacco is or how loose it is. Mm-hmm. It could be the volume of tobacco. It could be how you light it. I have my own method, and I can walk through my method. I'm interested to see what his method is versus mine.
Well,
because everyone has a little bit different ceremony about it,
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to finding out all kinds of stuff that I don't know about pipes. And I'm also looking forward to the next segment, because that's when we start the beer tasting.
Yes.
So with that in mind, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll do a beer in the next segment, and we will begin to learn more. I'll begin to learn more. Hopefully everybody else can benefit from this too, about the proper ways to pack and load and smoke a pipe.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 314.
That's halfway to 333.
Pipe Show 2023, and announcing Imperial February. And we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and on today's show specifically about pipes. I always love that sound. And I will make sure, however, that even though the can was sacrificed, that it does not go to waste.
That's true.
That's
it will fulfill its beer destiny.
That's exactly right. So our show is originating today. We're on location at the Briar Shoppe in Houston, what the area of Houston called Rice Village, and we are excited to bring on some guests and pipe experts from the Briar Shoppe. Ian, will you introduce our guest?
So this is James. I came in last week. James, how long have you been working here now?
I've been working here since I was about 14 years old.
So, yeah, we've definitely seen you here before, but I officially met you last week, and then we talked about having the show here, and so here we are. It's pretty awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. We'll talk a little beer first, and then I want to get into some pipe basics, like when does my pipe keep going out? What am I doing wrong? Because I'm really a novice. In fact, I had never smoked a pipe before we started this show. Cigars, yes, but pipes I hadn't. So, and I find I really enjoy it, and it's especially when it's like the colder months. I'm really pipes just seem really appropriate for the colder months. So, but we'll get into that in a moment. Let's talk beer first. This is the Cruz Blanca Vamos. It's a Vienna-Style lager. And, Ian, I know that you like Vienna-Style lagers in general. I just hope that the name of this one doesn't, influence you towards not liking it in some way.
Well, so having a beer named after you is pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know these guys?
I do not know
what
them,
happened.
No.
I mean,
no.
You're just that famous.
That's apparently the truth.
That's probably what.
But I'm not famous enough to get them to spell the name right, because they left the E off the end
Cruz.
of the name. It's just Cruz. No, I think Cruz Blanca is actually the name of the brewery, and they are located in Chicago, Illinois. And the beer is called Vamos. It's a Vienna-style lager, and I'm curious as to actually what you think of it.
So the initial taste on this, it's quite good. It's very
malty,
forward.
isn't it? Yes, I like that.
It's got a nice kind of like green apple kind of finish to it that I really, really enjoy.
It definitely finishes in that way. Some Vienna-style lagers finish with a kind of an aftertaste. This one doesn't. It kind of closes down after the green apple, and you don't get a whole lot of lingering, other than a little bit of a Doritos effect, like, oh, I'd like some more of that, But it's not that sort of lingering wheatiness that come with some Vienna lagers.
Right. Are you a big fan of beer, James?
I am a big fan of beer. Yes, sir.
I love that.
What do you think of this Vienna lager?
The nose is excellent, and the head is excellent.
Yeah.
And
The flavors hit you right up front. There's this beautiful malt sweetness that happens.
it is an exceptionally sweet one.
Yeah.
I would say. Not to be, I don't know what a good comparison might be, but something by Shinerbach, maybe. Not quite the Christmas ale, but another one of them. One doesn't come in my head right now, but reminds me of something that Shiner might make. Very fruit forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely is. And what I like about it is the sweetness makes me feel like it would just go perfect with bratwurst. You have the bratwurst, you have that sort of brat
sauerkraut.
flavor, and right. But then this has the sweetness; it would just balance out so nicely. In fact, I really, really want a bratwurst right now.
This is one
really
where I
working
think
for
if
me.
I walked into the brewery and said, "Hey, let me try this," I would probably wreck a few of these pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah. Well,
Although it's a little bit sessionable, it's coming in at 5.2, so it's not over the top.
Well, you know what they say: when you got the Cruz name, you can keep going for.
You just want more and more.
Yeah, you just want more and more. That's exactly how it works.
It's not always about you, Cruz.
exactly how it works.
Oh wait, this beer is.
I know, but most of the time it is. So that's when my wife says it's not always about you, that's always what I say. But most of the time
Most
it
of
is.
the time.
Yeah.
In my life.
So here at the Briar Shop, you guys have got probably the most extensive collection of pipes and pipes accessories that I've seen in one shop, and I've been to a lot of tobacco shops in different locations across the country. You said you've been working here since you were 14. Has pipes always been such a central part? Because you got a great cigar humidor too.
Yes, sir.
And but have pipes always been just like a really sort of important core part of the Briar Shop?
Absolutely. And so being here since my youth or adolescence, I've had the distinct privilege of learning from some of the best in the tobacco industry here in Houston, Texas. And we are actually Texas' oldest tobacco store.
In the state, I knew you were in this area.
All of Texas.
All of
even.
Texas.
In all of
Wow,
Texas.
That's awesome.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're the third oldest in the country as well.
Wow, that's a big deal because
That's pretty huge.
I've been to a number of the name escapes me off the top of my head, but the one that's right by the park in Boston, that is one of the oldest.
I haven't
and
been
can't,
there.
I don't know why I can't.
I
think
want
of it.
to.
Say it again. Jay Peretti. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been there. That was, and it's small. It's about, the whole place is about the size of your front room, but it's a very cool tobacconist, and that's one of those. If you're in Boston, you should visit it. Boston's all about history, so visit the historical cigar shop. But you guys, I think, have still got a much larger selection even than those guys. So I think it's really cool because pipe smoking doesn't get quite the same publicity. It's just not as widely seen, as cigar smoking. You see guys smoking cigars in TV shows and movies all the time.
Absolutely.
Like most recently the Tulsa King, which, by the way, if you're not watching, you're totally missing a great show. But Stallone has a cigar in that. But you don't see pipes as often, and yet don't pipes go back? I guess cigars may be older than pipes, or not. Do you know the answer to that? Were the pipes first or cigars first?
I would have to say that tobacco smoking being a new world product,
Right.
pipe smoking is probably first when compared to the rolling of tobacco and smoking, due to the simple fact that people have been smoking different things and various different materials for centuries.
Well, and the Native Americans, obviously, they had the peace pipe and other pipes that they smoked, but they're widely credited, I think, with the first rolled tobacco in what we now know as the United States as well.
Yes, sir. And the original pipe smokers, you might say, would be the fire keepers. When traveling from one destination to another, you'd have someone smoking either some type of herb, grass, even dung, whatever they could take to keep an ember going so they could start a fire. And as you can imagine, if you're nomadic like the Comanche, who's the greatest war tribe in all of Texas, they can start a fire with very little effort.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And pipe smoking also has been, and cigar smoking is this to a certain degree. I think pipe smoking may be even more a more communal thing. There's the passing of the pipe,
Right.
Absolutely.
and the whole getting together around the fire, smoking. With cigars, people aren't passing their cigars from one to another. With pipes, people are more likely to share. I think that's going back in history, I guess. I don't really know what I'm talking about here. I'm just kind of conjecture based on what we've learned.
If you consider, before industry, when pipes all had to be hand carved from whatever you had around you.
Right.
Like, I'm not even talking about like our standardized. We use Briar for pipes because of its qualities where it doesn't burn up.
Right. Exactly.
Just because you have
it can hold up when you're.
It can hold up to that stuff, but
right.
Indeed.
you had to have someone who could figure out how to carve a pipe and make it smoke, and so that was like a community thing where you shared that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure how hard it was to come by the tobacco and stuff that you put in it, but I'm assuming that carrying a lot of that stuff with you, if you were nomadic at all, that tends to weigh you down if you're carrying a lot of it. So it was probably more of a we use a little bit at a time and during ceremonies kind of thing would be my guess.
When I first met Ian, we bonded over cigars and craft beer and whiskey. It wasn't until we started doing the show that I realized what an avid pipe smoker he was. And he's got a pretty large collection of his own pipes, many of which he's got spread out here in the front. But the one he's holding now is my absolute favorite, and he knows why.
And so this is a funny one. This is a Missouri Meerschaum is the company, and I think that's just a play on words because Meerschaum is a very specialized type of stone that you use to carve pipes out of, and those pipes look like this.
Oh, right, sure.
We'll talk about this pipe in a bit. But so they call these Missouri Meerschaums, and they're made out of corn cob, actual real deal corn cob. And there was a company online years ago that would make what they called a forever stem. So it's an actual real deal stem.
That's great.
Put on here. And this thing, I got the church warden stem. That's what you call the extra long one, which is particularly good when you're doing things like this.
Now, for those, a lecture pipe.
Yes, it's a lecture
for those
pipe.
of you who aren't actually watching the show and are just listening,
there's an amazing amount of gravitas to that.
Yes, when you stop and you point the pipe like you're about to say something, and you bring it back slowly to your mouth and take another puff.
It makes
because you decided not to. It looks like you're actually talking about something, but not.
It makes you look scholarly.
However, it's really fun to smoke, and this pipe is overly pretentious for a Missouri Meerschaum, and I think it's hilarious. It's one of my better smoking pipes. I've got tons of pipes, and this thing smokes great. I think the total cost on this was, with the stem and everything, $50, something like that. Now, you can buy the Missouri Meerschaum. What do you guys sell them here for? $15?
Roughly between $11 and $13.50, I think right now is our cap. But
yeah,
and certainly others that are bigger and larger.
And the crazy thing is, Missouri Meerschaum pipes smoke better than so many pipes in the sub $100 category.
Yeah,
now I'm not going to pretend that there isn't ones like that because I'm sure you guys have some selection of pipes that are probably in that over 50 to between 50 and 100 neighborhood that are absolutely fantastic, But if you're going to spend the least amount and get a great smoking pipe, Missouri Meerschaum, I think, a killer.
The way to go, yeah. So are you more of a pipe smoker or more of a cigar smoker? When you're ready to relax at the end of the day, what do you reach for?
I'm somewhat 50-50.
Yeah.
I may be 60% pipe and 40% cigar. Really depends on the mood that I'm in and the location because as you can come to find, pipe smoking is a bit more cumbersome and it takes a bit more effort to smoke a pipe than it would, say, a cigar or a cigarette even. Is
it, though, once you've got the pipe loaded, got it lit, you're sitting back in your favorite smoking chair or you're on your patio or wherever you go to smoke, is it a more relaxing experience with a pipe? I tend to think maybe it is.
I would have to say so.
Yeah. And I'm not sure why. Because cigar smoking can be very relaxing as well.
Yeah, well, cigar smoking, you can smoke a cigar and do stuff with your hands. I think with a pipe, like his word cumbersome is accurate, but I think it lends a negative connotation to the fact that, like, I'm so used to just holding my pipe like this and then keeping a pipe tool in my hand, and even as much as, using my lighter with it and everything, because every once in a while I'll tamp it or knock off the ash or things like that. I'm just so used to having it like that. It's kind of natural for me. But it also keeps your hands busy, so if you don't have anything to do with your hands, you've got, these accessories. And that's kind of fun, too.
And I will say, too, I really enjoyed pipes more once I got this little stand, and Ian's got a number of different stands. But if you can set it down, and, if you need both hands to do something without worrying about it tumbling over and dumping the tobacco out or whatever.
Right, and you can get ashtrays that'll do that, and there's little pipe stands and things like that. That's very helpful. But again, the nice thing, too, is if you set a pipe down and you come back to it 15 minutes later, you relight it, it's fine.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I seem to have trouble keeping my pipe lit. Like mine's out now, and I haven't been messing with it for a little while. But sometimes even after I light it, smoke it, seem to have a good amount of smoke going, and I set it down for just a minute, it seems like I'm not able to keep it lit. What am I doing wrong? Am I loading the pipe wrong? Am I lighting it wrong? What's the best way to?
I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's answer that question a little after, but let's have James load a pipe the proper way and walk us through it.
I'd be glad to.
That will be
show
awesome.
us how to do it. I'll tell you what. I'll hold your mic.
It's kind of like Pipe 101 here,
And I'll hold your mic so you can talk us through it. That's a beautiful pipe, by the way.
Yes, it is gorgeous.
This is a pipe made by a local Houston, Texas carver named Mark Dominguez of Lone Star Briarworks, and he does some phenomenal work, great stem work.
So that's a one-of-a-kind then, isn't it?
It is. This is totally handmade right here in Houston, Texas.
Awesome.
And I think we're going to smoke, what do you think, Presbyterian or Seattle Pipe Club's Give Me Liberty, which is a plug.
Sure, go for it.
So a plug is literally, you've heard of a plug of tobacco. It's basically just a brick of tobacco, and he's tearing pieces off of it.
It's a brick when you open up the container.
It
right.
is.
Yeah.
And he's tearing
like a round brick.
pieces of it off, and he's doing what they call rubbing it out to make it smoke. I got the giggle over there.
I was going to say,
rubbing out the tobacco is different.
I didn't realize there were multiple
uses.
He's
not rubbing
for that
one
term.
out. He's rubbing out the tobacco.
I didn't realize there were multiple uses for the term, but okay, cool. So basically, he's loosening it up because you want the tobacco loose when it goes into
because when
into the bowl.
when it comes in a plug, it's very compressed.
It is. It's compressed tobacco that was originally loose at one point, and it's been compressed over some time, months, potentially even years, I suppose.
So what's cool about that is that tin of tobacco is going to last you longer than the size that it looks because it's been compressed. In other words, you're going to uncompress it when you smoke it and only take what might seem a fairly small amount out of the plug and expand it to what looks like a lot more.
Compressing it also gives you the added benefit of it holds moisture better.
It does.
Right.
So. And so when storing tobacco, the ideal suggestion is to store moist and smoke dry. What smoking dry does is it has a better chance of keeping your tobacco lit longer and also reducing what many beginning pipe smokers find as tongue bite, which is the burning of the tongue, burning of your tongue by the smoking. And cigars aren't as often a culprit of this because typically by the time you get a cigar so hot and down so low, most guys just set them out, set them down and let them go out. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just going to let this tobacco dry out for a second, and I think we may be about good. A general rule of thumb is that if you take a pinch of tobacco and it still sticks to your fingers, it's far too moist. It'll give it some more time to dry out. But this...
And so I'm discovering I may have already learned something that I'm not doing correctly because I may be loading my pipe when the tobacco is still a little moist, which is not going to allow it to burn as easy.
More than likely. Yes, sir.
Okay, good to know.
And so a lot of suggestions, a lot of guys say that, I think I may be able to handle this. There's a whole lot of YouTube videos online. They say pack like a baby, lady, then a man. I totally disregard that.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
First, pack gently, then gingerly, and then firmly, I suppose. And
So you took. I just want to make sure I have a sense of what you're doing. You took quite a good clump of tobacco all at once.
I did.
Kind of loaded it in, and now you're tamping it down a little bit.
Took a whole pinch, and I'm just going to stuff it in here with my finger for a moment.
And you're not really tamping it down hard yet, right?
Correct. No, sir. And there's really no firm tamping involved, I would say.
Okay.
1 minute here. Thank you, sir. And so when we get our bowl full, as you can smoke half bowls, small bowls, but the purpose of the pipe is to get as much tobacco in there as possible, I would say. And so we're going to take our tamper. This happens to be a Czech 3-in-1 tool. And
Those are classic.
They are very classic.
And pretty inexpensive.
You can also get you a 10-penny nail even, is what a lot of guys will come to find. I've used a 30-06 casing. I've used...
Only in Texas, folks. Only in Texas.
I've used all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and a nail even.
Yeah.
This is an actual pipe nail is what they call it.
And so when going to tamp initially and all throughout smoking your pipe, you're going to want to go around the outside edge of the bowl, making a dome shape with the tobacco. That ensures that once you light your bowl, it is going to burn evenly throughout and smoothly throughout your entire smoke. And the way I would describe it to those of us here that enjoy tobacco and cigars and whiskey and all good things that life has to offer, like a chainsaw cutting through a log, just let the saw do the work, let the tamper do the work. You don't need to put a whole bunch of pressure. There isn't a whole bunch of firmness or even big smoke like Gandalf smoke that you're going to want to occur when smoking your pipe.
So I think now I may know the second thing that I'm doing wrong, because in addition to maybe loading my pipe while the tobacco is still too moist, I may be tamping it down too hard. Both of those things would impair the burn. Correct? Would make it burn, make it more likely to go out in between if I tamped it down too hard and the tobacco's too wet.
Absolutely. 3 things you need for combustion: heat, pressure, and air.
And if you don't tamp it down too hard, it allows more air to flow through it.
Absolutely.
So the burn is more consistent, right?
And I do find that, especially when tamping with very dry tobacco and very loosely, that you can get a lot more nuance and a lot more flavor from the bowl and from the tobacco that you're smoking. This is Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death from the Seattle. I'm not sure if that's... Maybe just Give Me Liberty. From the Seattle Pipe Club. It's a wonderful, rich Virginia. Has a lot of complexity and a lot of character. And we're going to go ahead and strike a match and go to work.
Do you prefer lighting with a match versus using a lighter?
I do. I got to say, I think it's more charismatic, and especially when you're sitting inside, smoking inside, if your wife or whoever you have at home will let you do that, it lends itself to a much better smoking experience. You wouldn't believe how many people I've had to teach how to light matches since working here.
They used to be a given, right?
It did used to be, and so I guess I'll explain this. Is the key is when striking your match, you're going to want to tilt it down for one. Heat rises, flame burns up, and maybe give it a twist if you're going to chase the flame around the cedar match there.
So gently lighten it. It looks like he's moving it around the bowl just a little bit, and drawing gently while he's lighting it.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is a beautiful beautiful pipe, by the way.
So for those of you who are doing the audio version of the show, what he did was he had his pipe, angled downward, used the match kind of in a slow circle around the top of the bowl of the pipe, and made sure, I guess, that you're getting a more even light that way. Correct?
Yes, sir. Much like lighting the foot of a cigar with a match, you're going to want to pull the flame down into the bowl and go around the bowl to ensure that your pipe is evenly lit. Typically, they say this is a 3-stage lighting process. Hopefully, I can get it in one. Maybe I didn't let my tobacco dry out enough.
obviously you're drawing through the pipe while you're doing the lighting to get the airflow to ignite more of the tobacco, correct?
Indeed.
And so
There's no shame in using extra matches, by the way.
yeah,
Not at all.
if you get it lit the way you want, should that bowl continue to smoke the whole time, or how often would you be likely to have to relight it?
That is a very good question. Maybe 1 in 20 bowls will I smoke a pipe, and it will stay lit from the first light all the way down.
All the
to
way
bottom.
down, yeah. Interesting.
It does not happen very often to me, even when smoking inside or depending on where I'm at. But pipe tobacco does tend to go out more so than a cigar. Maybe because you are moving your hands more. I'm a clencher personally, and so I can kind of hold it in my teeth.
Take strong jaws, depending on the pipe.
And
Right, some pipes more so than others, I guess,
Indeed.
yeah? Yeah. So, all right. So this is all fascinating. I've already learned some things. In fact, just while you were lighting your pipe, I took my little tool here and kind of dug mine around, loosened the tobacco up a little, and I'm having much better results now with the burn just from doing that and not having it packed so tightly. Plus, I think the tobacco's probably dried a little bit from when I first lit it. So this has been really helpful for me. We want to come back and talk in a moment about the different types and styles of pipe tobacco, and we have a lot more tips I'd like to get to for people who are, maybe just getting started in the pipe thing. But we do need to take a break, and we will be back in just a moment. It's Smoking and Toasting on location at the Briar Shoppe in Houston, Texas, and we'll be right back. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting on location at the Briar Shoppe, Houston, Texas, in the Rice Village area. And I was going to say I'm thrilled that my pipe stayed lit during the break, but I think I took a little bit too long, and so I now do have to light it again.
So just a quick addendum. So he likes traditionally lighting with the match is a thing, and it's probably the least flavor additive way to light a pipe. If you're a cigar smoker and you decide to try pipes, do not use your cigar lighter. Okay,
Absolutely
you need a
not.
soft flame, even if it's a Bic or whatever. I use a Zippo. They have the low odor fuel, and it has a hole on the side, so when you can lay it on top of the pipe and draw the.
Even has a little pipe on it.
Yes. And even if you have an old Zippo, if you have an old Zippo and you want to convert it to a pipe lighter, you can buy the inserts right over here in the case that will convert it straight to a pipe lighter. You just take out your old insert and put it in the drawer. And that's really nice. Zippo makes a bunch of great stuff. They make an insert that can turn it into a cigar lighter too with the torch flames.
they do. They make a
So that's
butane
really
torch
nice.
insert
Yeah.
as well.
I'm going to let you talk while I open beer.
All right, well, let's talk pipes a little bit. Obviously, Ian's got a few of his out. Are these all yours? Thank you. I didn't pick up the mic. Let's talk pipes for a minute. Are all of these yours, Ian, except for the Dunhill?
No, okay. So this one is not mine. This is this one yours?
That one's mine.
This is a
That is a
Moretti.
fascinating
That is
pipe.
beautiful, yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that one. What makes it different, and is the difference only in how cool it looks and what the appearance is, or does it smoke differently?
It smokes very well. It is actually a totally different material than any of the rest of these pipes that we have up here. That black pipe that I would say is a freehand, maybe in the shape of a squashed tomato, is made out of morta, which is a bogwood that they go tramp around bogs and stuff with a big metal rod and
Watching for alligators.
When it
all
makes
that.
the right thump, they found one.
pretty much. And the older, or I suppose the darker the wood, the older the material has been submerged. I want to say that one being jet black. I heard from a friend of mine who's been smoking pipes much longer than I have and has many more pipes than I do, that the jet black ones tend to be about 5,000-year-old bogwood and mortar. And much like clay or meerschaum, they do not ghost. And what ghosting in your pipe is holding over residual flavors from the various categories of tobacco. Your three main categories.
The same thing your plastic food keepers do when you put something very tomato-based in it or vinegar-based in it.
They'll hold on to a little of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that happens, and it can be a bad thing in a pipe.
And you were saying the three types of pipe tobacco?
3 main categories is going to be your Virginias, your aromatics, which is going to be your sweeter vanillas, cherries, smells like something your grandpa used to smoke. It's a cliche, but it's true. And finally, your Englishes, which tend to be more of the Oriental and Latakia blends. They tend to smell initially on the nose much smokier, like wood smoke and black pepper and burnt ribbons. And the English is a totally different smoking experience from any of the Virginias or aromatics, I would say. And to each their own. They're all wonderful tobaccos in their own right and wonderful categories. And if you get to smoke long enough, feel free to tinker with them yourself and come up with something that you like.
Yeah, so my brother, he'll buy tubs, sometimes of just the same ones you can buy at the store, like the Carter Hall or Prince Albert, but he'll add a little pinch of Perique or a little bit of this or that, and just close the tub and let it kind of blend in, and then he'll smoke it. Adds a little flavor to it.
Which is another really cool thing about pipe smoking, because you don't often get the chance to blend your own cigar. Much as I would love to be able to do that,
Right.
It's not like I can just go, okay, I'm going to blend me up a cigar now and put it in the humidor for a while and see how it smokes in a year. But with pipe tobacco, you can do that. You can take different blends, combine them, try to come up with your own, exclusive
and
blend.
You can buy.
It's kind of cool.
You can buy just the tobaccos themselves for blending if you want. Or you can take a blend that you already have and another blend that you already. I've done that before, where I've had Accountant and Blue Note, and I had a little bit of each, so I just put them in a baggie and mix them up, those kind of things. You come up with some great flavors that way.
James, of the 3 styles that you mentioned, do you have an absolute favorite, or is it more just what you're in the mood for at that time and you like them all about equally?
I certainly do have an absolute favorite, and I may catch some flack for this. Most guys, and myself included, have wound up very happy with the Virginias. Like some fly fishermen guys are just so happy catching redfish on a fly down the third coast here. If I never smoke anything but rich and beautiful, bright yellow red Virginias and some Perique mixed in there as well, whatever I'm in the mood for, I'm happy. The aromatics, I would say, are my second. I don't smoke near as many of those as I do the Virginias. Just because, despite the great room note, and despite that it's what everyone kind of thinks about when they hear pipe smoking, I was raised on Virginias from my mentor, Ross, and that's kind of what I stuck with. Finally, the Englishes are my least favorite. I have never really had a good experience smoking Englishes.
Okay.
So,
but everybody's different, though.
everyone is certainly
Some
different.
people may like that the best. So.
Absolutely. And it really is all what you find that you're comfortable with, as the Whiskey Tribe says over in Dripping Springs. The way you like to drink whiskey is the way you should drink it. The way you want to smoke your pipe tobacco is the way you should smoke it.
Or as Ian likes to say, whiskey good.
Pipe good.
Pipe good. And beer good as well. Ian has poured us some of this damn good decade. Is that
Damn good decade.
So it looks like they're talking about the 80s.
Terps IPA.
Because of the vibe of that illustration.
It's got a
looks a little, reminds me of the old
kind of a faceted
video
art
games, yeah.
beaver on there.
So this is a very, very
So
fruity
it says
on the
India Pale Ale with natural flavors. Let's see if they have anything fun on here. Let's see. Our new Out of This World IPA, brewed with Eldorado, Simcoe, and Mosaic hops, was crafted to take flavor to heights with no beaver has ever been before. We wanted to celebrate our 10-year anniversary by not looking into our past, but by innovating for the future. Damn good decade. Terps IPA uses aromatic floral notes to push the flavor out of the stratosphere. Cheers.
So Simcoe is a very unruly hop. It is you never can quite pin it down. There's certain hops, Citra, Mosaic. You always kind of know what flavor
you know what you're going to kind of get out of that
to the beer. Simcoe is a real wild card, at least for me. Maybe I just haven't been able to pin it down yet. But
so
it'll
Simcoe
be
to
see.
me always adds dank to the mixture.
Yes, there always is a little
like
bit
a
of dank.
dankness to it. This has a meter on it. It looks like out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out of like 12. It looks like it's got a 5 out of 12 on dank, a 2 out of 12 on bitter, and a 10 out of 12 on tropical on their little.
Well, it definitely is,
meter there.
and that makes sense. It definitely is more tropical and less bitter. But the Simcoe is definitely in there. It's got a little bit of that.
It's got some of that dank.
to it. Are you an IPA guy? Do you like IPAs?
Not many, but I come to find that the more of them I try, the more of them I do enjoy. This is certainly one of them. I would recommend this.
So here on the show, I'm the guy that has a tendency to like most IPAs. Ian is less of an IPA guy, but if they get the balance right, he's in. So tell me, Ian, your take on this.
I like this one. It's interesting. It's crispy up front, which is a little backwards. It's crispy up front, and then it's dank in the middle, and then it finishes with a tropical sweetness and a little kiss of bitter.
The tropic is all on the end of it,
Yeah.
and the juiciness is all on the end of it. But
it doesn't leave you like you got a pine cone stuck in your teeth or anything.
I
like
appreciate Belching Beaver, though. They are not only very experimental, but they're very consistent. Like I don't know if I've had any of their beers I haven't thought were really pretty terrific. I'm trying to think. Have we had one we were less than excited about?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think
Belching Beaver is pretty solid. I'll try pretty much anything from that brand. They're great like that.
Absolutely. So the next beer that we try a little bit later in the show is another one that I will try anything they make, and that's Ingenious Brewing.
Yeah, Ingenious is
located out in
amazing.
Humble, Texas, a little bit north of us here. These guys are they're out of their minds. They'll try anything, and yet they seem to. Let's put it this way: if they've tried anything and it didn't come out right, they've never put it in a can or a bottle and made it available to the public that I've been able to try.
Right.
But they're they're very IPA driven as a brewery, but today we're going to be trying their Imperial Stout because, after all, it is Imperial February. We're at the Briar Shoppe on location for Smoking and Toasting, show number 314, and we will be right back for Ian to tell us about that pipe. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and today especially about pipes. So
I love all those
when
things.
we want to talk pipes and smoking pipes and pipe tobacco, we come to the right place, at least for our area, and that is the oldest tobacconist in the state of Texas, which is the Briar Shoppe, Rice Village of Houston. And we are here with Bill from the Briar Shoppe, who's finishing up a cigar. What are you smoking there?
This is a Crux, actually.
Oh, Crux. I haven't had one of those in a long
great.
time. They're very good cigars. Very good cigars. I'm always interested when I go into a tobacco shop and someone that works there is smoking a cigar. Like, okay, you got a whole humidor in there. What did you choose? What were you in the mood for? So that's kind of interesting to me. But I'm kind of like that. I used to be like that with music, right? Back when everybody had like cassette tapes and CDs in their car, if I'd walk by a car and they had their tape case open or whatever, I'd probably look like I was trying to steal the car, but really I was just leaning in to go, oh, what are they listening to? Oh, very interesting. Okay, cool. But anyway, I'm kind of like that with tobacco and with pipes, but I know so much less about pipes and pipe tobacco, and it was interesting hearing James, to me, just describe the general characteristics of each of the three types of tobacco, and it just has me so curious about exploring more of the different tobaccos in that, and so that's why I'm like a kid in a candy store in here.
So he touched on something that we didn't talk about was the composition of a pipe,
right?
What it's made of. We have a few pipes here that are made out of some very different things. As with his pipe, I have. He mentioned this. This is Meerschaum.
That is just like the coolest looking pipe.
So this
ever.
pipe, we're going to take it on its maiden smoke for now. What do you know about Meerschaum in general?
So, Meerschaum is the German term for fossilized sea foam. And it's actually a mineral called magnesium silicate. And that mineral is a broken down coral reef that's died, that's fallen apart, that's been compressed under thousands and thousands of pounds of earth until it's made into a slurry. And it's mined about 900,000 feet deep in and around Turkey, some places in Africa, and they mine it and carve it.
It's
So
pretty
begins
amazing.
Begins as a coral reef. That is so cool.
So and it looks like ivory, for lack of a better comparison. The carving done on these, I don't know if you can get a focus on that, or if I need to come closer. This is Bacchus. This is a pipe that my aunt picked up in Turkey in the 70s when she was there in the military. It's been floating around the family since then. My brother sent it to me recently. He already has a meerschaum pipe that my dad gave him.
Right.
So he sent me this, and I figured today, having our pipe show, would be a good day to smoke it for the first time.
This is your virgin voyage.
This has never been smoked.
So I'm curious as to the carving. Like the bowl itself is smooth around the top edge, but then you've got all this very intricate and ornate carving. Is that all one piece?
It is all one piece. And what most people don't understand is that only about 15% of what you mine you can use in carving.
And why
So-
is it? And why is that?
Because it's very fractious. It has a lot of
Faults in the
faults in it,
structure.
and it'll cleave fairly easily. But the thing about meerschaum is it smokes great from the very first smoke.
Right.
Briar pipes tend
Be broken in a little bit.
break-in period, yeah.
Kind of like with like a cast iron skillet. Mm-hmm. Always cooks better once you've broken it
Right.
in a little bit and cooked
Right.
with it a few times. So,
Right.
that's really interesting. What percentage of the pipes that you sell are meerschaums? Would you
Probably
say?
about 10%.
Really?
Okay. It's an easy chair pipe because it does have that propensity to fracture. You can't beat it up like a lot of other briar pipes.
Right.
If you drop it, you might crack some of the ornate design off of it, or it's just
or chip it, or
yes, yeah.
I mean,
So-
just from handling, you can see a couple spots on here where it's got little scrapes and things, because it's been around since the 70s, kicking around. You know,
right. It's a little softer. Well, it's a lot softer than briar. Briar's hard. Takes special tools to carve it. The meerschaum's a lot softer and a lot easier to carve.
And
This
do you
is
guys
Briar.
have pipes here that are very ornate like this one?
Absolutely.
And what is the price range for something of this? So where the lowest end to maybe the highest end?
So probably from the lowest end, $180 to the high end of $900.
and speaking of
350 is a nice sweet spot for a
Speaking of
meerschaum
beautiful
pipe.
pipes, I'd like to start a GoFundMe for this beautiful piece here. This is Dunhill that you loaned us to put on the table, and it is gorgeous.
It is. And what is the price tag inside?
And the price tag inside here is $625.
So
And it is absolutely amazing, an absolute piece of art.
So what is it that makes that, other than the fact that it's beautiful, is there something about that pipe that makes it worth, so much more than some of the pipes that we see on the table? Or is it one of those things where, you're paying for the name and the luxury and it's part of the experience, kind of like buying a Ferrari instead of buying a, BMW?
Well, it's that. Of course, Dunhill is the top of the line, but they don't normally. I would say they never sell anything that's got a flaw in it.
Yeah.
So there's not a sand pit. There's no fracture in it. It's a flawless pipe. That one is known as a Cavalier, and those were made so that servicemen in the World War II could break them apart and put them in their pocket, because a lot of times servicemen would break their pipes trying to hop into the trenches,
Right.
and snap the stem off or break the shank.
So much this design by Peterson was kind of the same thing, correct? Because this comes apart so easily, and then you don't have to worry about it breaking off so much in
Correct.
your pocket.
Correct.
Well, pricing is interesting. Like, there's a new Cohiba coming out, and not a Cuban Cohiba. We talked about the Cuban Cohibas that are coming out that are so expensive now, and now General Cigar is following with a cigar with a Brazilian wrapper and a hydraulically powered box, so your cigars rise up to meet you when you open the box, which is kind of cool. But these cigars are going to be about $100 a piece retail. It's called the Spectre from Cohiba. Now, aside from the sort of cool gimmickry of the box, how good does a cigar have to be worth $100? I mean, you are, in some cases, I feel like you're paying for the prestige of the fact of being able to say, this is a $100 cigar I'm smoking.
So,
and while it's probably not necessarily better than a $20 cigar, you're still, again, it's kind of like driving one of the really higher end.
Before we
cars.
get into trying the cigar, even getting into that realm, when they send that to the stores, they send it with gloves that you have to wear to even handle the packaging. Right? I mean, have you experienced this?
I don't know. So I've had the predecessor to that. We retailed it at $110. It was a manufacturer's suggested retail price, and I sold 2 boxes almost immediately.
Wow.
So
that's beyond special occasion. That's like we just made $1 million.
Right.
How was it? You said you smoked one though.
I did not smoke.
Oh, you did not smoke one.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I did not smoke one.
Well, this one comes, it is a limited edition. It comes in a Brazilian wrapper that General Cigar says was harvested in 2008. So it's definitely a vintage wrapper on it. And then the hydraulic press system, they say, dramatically elevates the tube cigars. And all of it amounts to a cigar that's going to retail, they say, for nearly $130. So that's, in a box of these, you just want to get me a box of cigars for Christmas, these will do just fine.
Just one box is all I'm asking.
Yeah, one box is all I'm asking. No, the original Spectre was introduced in 2018. It was $90 at that time, the suggested retail. And the subsequent releases all rose in price a little bit. I mean, it is a great looking cigar. What I'm looking at in the article, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring up in a time when we're talking about a $600+ pipe. I mean, is it? I know the answer to this, but it's not necessarily that pipe is several hundred times better than other pipes you can buy here at the store for a reason. Even though it is maybe one of the best pipes that you guys have, right? Would you say that?
Absolutely. So there's different price points for pipes as well as most other articles. I mean, let's face it, a DuPont is a far superior lighter than a
Sure.
Calibri or something like that.
Right, and that's why they cost more.
I've broken Calibris and Zycars. I have a DuPont that never fails to light every single time I click it.
Yeah. Ian, I'd just like to point out, Ian's poured the rum that we're about to taste. And I hope you don't mind tasting some rum with us.
Oh, I'm a rum
but
guy.
I'd just like to point out the difference between my pour and Ian's and Bill's.
Did I short pour you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I
certainly did
got
not
about
mean to.
half what you got there, brother.
Let's try not to pour it on Bill.
All right, we'll do our best. Thank you very much. Perfect.
More?
No, that's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna over pour you.
All right, now there we go.
Now
No,
you
I
have
just
to
wanted to give you a hard time about that. It was because I had a beer with my name on it, wasn't it?
Right.
That's why. So let's talk about this rum a little bit. I have not tried this particular brand of rum. I've not tried their rums prior to this one. However, they have rums that originate from a number of different places. They have rums from the Caribbean. I believe they had one from Barbados. And this particular one, the materials, they're all bottled in France, but the materials, the sugarcane, originates in Thailand. And I'd never had a Thailand rum before, so I thought this would be an interesting one.
So kind of the
to try.
difference is the terroir, so to speak.
Absolutely, and what that sugarcane is going to be like. I mean, you can already tell the difference when we're talking plantation rums, for example. You can tell a great deal of difference from the rums that where they originate from, say, Costa Rica or Barbados, or they had one that was so good, and then Jamaican rums. And Jamaican rums we've always talked about have more of that sort of rubbery quality.
The rubbery stuff and the funk, yeah.
But it can be quite good depending on how it's done. So this one from Thailand, didn't really know what to expect.
So on the nose, it's so delicate. It's like so delicate and gentle and a little sweet. And then, how are you feeling about the flavor? Have you tried yours yet?
I did try it.
What do you
I
think?
couldn't wait.
You were smiling.
I couldn't wait.
I think the flavor's fantastic, and it's not quite so delicate as the nose suggests.
I mean, this is definitely rum, but this is one of the lightest, yet still complex rums. I think it's delicate and complex at the same time is a better way to put it.
But it does have a little kick to it on the finish.
There's a little vanilla to it.
A little
There's
cinnamon kick on the finish.
Yeah.
And the vanilla is definitely there. This one was aged. Does it say on the bottle how long the aging was? I think it does.
So aged 5 years.
So that makes it an añejo in rum world.
Distilled in Pathum, Denai province. I'm probably slaughtering those words, and it's bottled at 42%, so slightly overproof.
I'll tell you what.
This Thailand rum has been extra matured in American oak casks that have contained a cognac-based spirit for several months in the cellars of Chateau de Brewer. I don't know what. Yeah, it's French, so I just pronounce the first couple letters and forget all the rest of them.
Pronounce the first couple of consonants and then just go, ugh.
It gives notes of coconut, pepper, and licorice. And that's not a slur on anybody French listening to this. It just means that I don't have any kind of grasp of the language, and and I'd rather not slaughter it worse than I did.
I think it's quite good.
I like
what
it.
do you
It's
think?
very nice. There's
Nope.
a lingering rum hug that comes back, like
Yes.
warmth that comes back and kind of
Up front,
hangs around.
it's- as you used the word delicate, up front it feels very delicate, like this is going to be super easy drinking. And then the finish kind of gives you a little bit of a jolt.
Yep.
And then, as you were saying, that rum hug sort of comes back and visits you a little bit after the finish, which is kind of cool. I think it's very good. I'm becoming more and more of a rum guy. The more of it I try, the more of it I sample.
Rum good.
The more I have to say rum good. Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We still have more to talk about with pipes, and perhaps most importantly, our next segment will bring in the part of the show that people are just clamoring for. I have no idea why. It will be time for drinking news when we return. It's Smoking and Toasted. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasted. Having a great time at the Briar Shoppe in Houston, Texas, where we're on location doing our Pipe Show 2023 and announcing to all the world that it is Imperial February, and we'll be getting to that Imperial beer coming up here in just a little bit.
I can't wait to have that.
So, yeah, very exciting. But it's time now for the segment that people seem to be talking about, and we have no idea why. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, welcome to Drinking News. This is a segment on the program where we bring you stories that have been reported in the news from somewhere around the globe. We take special care to not necessarily vet all of these, but we don't use sites like the Onion and places that are obviously parody. These are stories that have been reported in some form of mainstream news somewhere. And as we like to tell you and remind you each week, drinking news stories are not, they may be, but they are not always about drinking. But they have always been best enjoyed, best listened to when you've been drinking. And certainly we have.
Heck yeah.
In a couple of years we've been doing Drinking News, we brought you stories from around the globe of things that people have done when they've had a little too much. Like the woman that took a dump on the police car bumper outside a bar in Seattle.
Hey, sometimes you got to go, right?
Yeah, she wasn't saying she wanted to defund the police. She was just saying, well, frankly, I have no idea what she was saying. Then there was the Florida man who tried to use a taco as his ID after his car caught fire in the drive-thru at Taco Bell. Yeah, he may have had a little too much.
Maybe he identifies as a taco. I mean, I hear that's a thing to
That's
do
a
nowadays.
thing. Yes, that's right. Or the inebriated Minnesota man who was arrested for driving drunk from bar to bar in his motorized recliner chair, complete with cup holder, a headlight, and a sticker from the National Hot Rod
That's
Association.
so amazing.
Yeah, so that's a great one. But those things, even those things, are not quite as embarrassing as the story of a British man whose drinking adventure led him to show the world his deep love and serious attraction to some inanimate objects. It's the cautionary tale of 24-year-old Daniel Cooper, a jobless father of 3, who has since changed the name on his Facebook page, by the way, to Daniel Hot C. Cooper.
Hot C?
And the C stands for another word for rooster, one that rhymes with Spock. So, and he uses the word, not the yeah. Anyway,
Right.
Daniel Hot C. Cooper. Cooper's described by his friends as someone who, quote, rarely drinks, end quote. And those are the ones that you have to watch out for, by the way, the rarely drinkers. But apparently he does at least drink sometimes because police wound up arresting him for public intoxication, public indecency, and assaulting a vehicle. Seems Cooper and a group of his friends were out on the town, and after some copious drinking, they found themselves in a kebab shop in Holywell, North Wales. Now, what would you do if you were in a kebab shop waiting for your order, and you noticed how incredibly smooth and attractive the kebab shop countertop was, almost as if the counter was taunting you, daring you to take the lead? I don't know what you would do, but I can tell you what Cooper did. He dropped his pants and began attempting to have sex with the countertop.
There's a man with a vision. That's for sure.
I'm not sure how that would even work, really, but I'm guessing there would be, some humping and rubbing involved. Not surprisingly, the encounter with the counter. You like what I did there?
The encounter with the counter.
The encounter with the counter did not prove completely satisfying to Mr. Cooper, so he took his arousal outside.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
The encounter with the counter
Yes.
did not prove completely satisfying.
Yes. I think you know.
Who could have seen that?
Yeah. So Mr. Cooper took his arousal outside, where he turned his affection toward a vehicle in the parking lot. Yes, this British man tried to have sex with a 2020 gray Land Rover Discovery. Strangely, I'm reminded of that line from Eddie Murphy in the classic comedy from Beverly Hills Cop. I'm not going to fall for any banana in the
You don't fall
tailpipe.
for no banana in the tailpipe.
Cooper, who's been described as a responsible family man because, of course, it was given a community order banning him from going outside between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Well,
There goes Sunday Fun Day, I suppose.
yeah, right.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, they didn't say the thing about Hump Day. Now, not that I would suggest ever having sex with a car, but if that were going to happen, I sure wouldn't pick a Land Rover. It'd have to be something like, like a Porsche 911 or a souped-up Mustang or a classic Corvette. I'm just saying. Reporting live from Wales, where I'm not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. All right. And somehow that segment continues to be popular. I don't understand it, but hey.
It keeps me up on my ukulele licks.
And that I think that's probably what it is. It's the ukulele theme song. That's what people are there for. Well, welcome back to our wonderful afternoon we are spending here in the Briar Shoppe, Houston, Texas. Oldest tobacconist in the state of Texas, which I don't think I knew had been here for a long time, was the oldest in the area. I don't think I knew until today it was the oldest in Texas.
Well, Bill, you don't look that old.
Yeah.
Not that old.
Yeah. Bill, we talked about the different kinds of pipes. We talked about this really, really fancy pipe that
The
Ian was showing
Dunhill
off.
there. That thing's so beautiful.
But for the first-time pipe smoker, somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm interested in smoking a pipe. Maybe I smoked one of a friend's. I want to kind of get started. Where do you steer them? Do you steer them to a specific type of pipe and a specific type of tobacco? Is there a good sort of on-ramp, I guess, that you guys can help provide?
Well, usually anybody that's looking into starting pipe smoking has a vision in their mind about how I'm going to look, how is this going to come across. And so we try and take the customer's input and show them and steer them that direction. Normally, the pipe smoking is a cheaper form of nicotine transfer, notwithstanding the capital investment of the first pipe. So Generally, we've got a sweet spot for the beginning pipe smoker around $85. You can get cheaper pipes, but if you enjoy pipe smoking and you start to be a frequent pipe smoker, your first really cheap pipes become the red-headed stepchildren.
Yep.
So we try and keep pipes that you will always want to smoke, even when you start getting into $150, $200, $300 pipes. You want that first pipe to always be in the rotation. Mm-hmm. So we try and get people out of the door if they show the propensity to want to smoke a pipe, tobacco, cleaners, and a tamper for under $100.
So you're saying basically you want to help them get into a first pipe that won't eventually be discarded when they upgrade
Right.
and buy better ones, but will still be part of their smoking rotation that they'll still use.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I mentioned earlier the Missouri Meerschaums, and that's kind of the other level is those entry-level pipes, but they're oddly good. Now, I keep a few around the house for when people are like, hey, I'd like to try it. And I'm like, here's a pipe for you. Those are inexpensive. Those are kind of you'll smoke them for a while and a lot of times be done with it when you get something nicer. Plus, my Missouri Meerschaum, they're notwithstanding, most of the time you just look like you're smoking a corncob pipe.
Which has its own cool factor to it. I
It
suppose,
can,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, if I can interject, pipes are generational. So you should be able to hand them down generation after generation after generation.
I have quite a few that were my dad's.
As long as you haven't over smoked them.
Right.
So corn cobs, they are made out of corn cob, not as hard, not as dense, doesn't have the high Farius point that a briar pipe has. And so briar pipes are meant to be passed down.
Case in point, this is an old K-Woody, and I got this from my brother. He found it at an estate sale and refurbished
That's
it. And
cool.
this is a darn fine smoking pipe. It's probably from, the 50s, the 40s, something like that?
40s, 50s,
Yeah.
or 60s, probably.
And it's this kind of nice. I smoke it from time to time. It's a great smoker, and that's the kind of when you get into that level of briar and pipe that he's talking about there.
Do you see any patterns that certain types of people, certain types of smokers gravitate towards a particular type or style of pipe? Because obviously the pipe you choose does say something about you.
There's a little personality to it.
Yeah, if is there a consistency there that you've noticed over the years?
I don't think that there's a consistency as far as style goes, because everybody, again, in their mind's eye, thinks something is going to look better than something else. There, always got the guy that is gonna love the Hungarian that just hangs down and looks very distinguished. But then there's always the guy that wants a straight pipe that thinks that that's the better look.
Yeah.
So, those things are kept in your own head.
So James told us of the styles of tobacco. His sort of sweet spot is Virginia. What about you?
I smoke a lot of Virginias. The type of Virginia tobacco, just the way that tobacco grows is a little bit sweeter than say a Burley or a Cavendish, just by the nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I stick with a lot of Virginias, but as far as I'm concerned, if you want it, stick it in your pipe and smoke it.
To quote the old saying.
There
right?
is that.
Yeah.
Put that in your pipe
Absolutely.
and smoke it.
Ian, how many pipes would you say you have total?
So now
right.
I've kind of cut back to around 10 that I smoke very frequently. I've had 43, I think, was
Oh, that's a lot.
well, it is, but we have another gentleman and a couple of other gentlemen that have worked here that have pipes in the hundreds. So
Yeah.
How about you, Ian? How many at your house?
So at my house, smokable pipes, not being some that my dad has worn out and I just have them in a cabinet, to look at and things like that. Smokable pipes of probably 22-ish.
That's still a lot.
But my go-to pipes are probably 7 or 8 different pipes
So, right,
that
yeah.
kind of rotate. And, like he said, depends on what I want to look like when I'm smoking. That's
this
100% true.
This one is working for you, I think.
This one's great.
This is very, I don't know, this makes you look very creative.
It's Bacchus, but I think it still adds a certain gravitas to my overall demeanor.
And then there is, what the whole Bacchus vibe is about. So there you go. I think that what is interesting about pipe smoke versus cigars is that with pipe smoke, you're more apt to get positive reactions from non-smokers in the room than you are with cigars. Not saying it doesn't happen with cigars, but with pipes it seems to happen more frequently. Why is that? What is it about the pipe room note that's more acceptable to people who don't smoke?
So I would say that that the memory, the olfactory memory, is a very strong memory, especially at an early age. So
you think it maybe recalls uncles or dads or grandpas,
absolutely,
people in the family who smoked a pipe?
Absolutely. Over the years, I've had more people than I could even name that just open the door, stick their head in, and take a big whiff of the shop and say, that reminds me of my grandfather. That reminds me of my uncle. That reminds me of whoever. And so, I mean, those memories are lasting even way into adulthood.
It's a comforting thing, I think, for a lot of people if they have that memory, like you said, of grandpa or dad or maybe somebody who isn't around anymore, and it's like seeing an old picture.
I get that a lot if I'm smoking a pipe out in public. I'll almost without fail, I'll have somebody come up to me at some point in time and go, "That smells like," and reminds me of that.
My dad, my uncle.
That thing, and sometimes I've had people that linger and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna stand over here because it smells so good."
Yeah, and you get that occasionally with cigars, but not nearly as often.
Well, here's the downside. One of the very few downsides I can even think of to a cigar. Even a great cigar smells like a cigar. And it's not as sweet, and it doesn't have quite the perfumey room note that even English tobaccos have. Because in English tobacco, at least smells like an old bookstore a lot of times, Yeah. So
I say an old meat pit or a dying campfire.
Yeah, dying campfire / bookstore /
In my library are many leather-bound books. And the smell of, rich mahogany.
Rich mahogany.
Yeah.
So this is now our first beer for
Imperial February. Yes, that's right. This is from our friends at Ingenious. It is a 14% ABV Imperial Stout called Turtle Power. And they're really into the Mutant Ninja Turtle thing because they've got a number of beers in their line now. I think they're all limited releases, but they've got a number of beers in their line that are Ninja Turtle themed and oriented. So there must be some big turtle fans out there. So Ian, I noticed as you poured it, it literally looked like you were pouring from a can of motor oil into the cup. I mean,
it makes me happy.
This thing is thick.
Look at this rim of it around the around the glass is
you
dark
can see
and impenetrable.
Even before you get any of the foam on the top of it, it just looks like.
I prefer my beer with a slight amount of impenetrable darkness. I think it's
well, you've definitely got some here.
I think that's a good metric to start
Impenetrable darkness, the Ian Barry story. Well, on the nose, I'm getting coconut.
Okay, wow.
Oh, you've already tasted.
Yeah. I call it research.
We can always count on Ian to get into the research quickly.
This beer,
wow,
and the pipe tobacco atmosphere together are such a beautiful thing together.
It's working for you.
There's a coconut, especially on the retrohale. It almost just dominates the aftertaste, but in a beautiful way with some vanilla
vanilla, cacao nibs,
Chocolate up front.
just a little bit of coffee, but it's not very coffee forward. You know, so many stouts, especially Russian Imperial stouts, are really coffee or espresso
So
forward.
strangely enough, it's not real coffee forward, but it does have that coffee bitterness, a little bit of a coffee bitterness to it that I really enjoy. It says on here, there's power and then there's turtle power. After a hard day's soldiering on your feet, there's nothing like kicking back with a little dessert. Leo would be proud.
Wow. So, yeah, definitely the Ninja Turtle theme and definitely a...
Russian Imperial Stout brew with chocolate, pecans, and salted caramel. I wasn't getting the pecans, but I'm also smoking an aromatic.
you know, I can pull a little pecan out of there. Yeah, absolutely. Almost like the, you know, that taste of the pecan, like right next to the
I wonder if that's where I'm getting that bitter...
shell.
I wonder if that's where I'm getting some of that bitter aftertaste from. That's
right,
that's
because
like that.
it's like that. You know, you ever eat like a shelled pecan and it's still got a little piece of that inner shell in it, and it gives you that bitter. That's I'm picking up a little bit of that. Picking up a little bit of that.
What
sure.
style of beer is your go-to if you're beer drinking?
I'm a stout guy.
You are.
Yes,
Well,
How you feeling about this one?
I love it. I love it.
It's big.
I get a lot of sweetness on the back end of it,
yeah, that's true.
like a dessert.
Okay.
Well,
And I'm getting a little bit of bitter, so I think maybe the tobacco's having something to do with that.
well, I will just say this: it not only is delicious, but I get the feeling that if I had a low oil light on my car and I didn't have any handy, I could probably substitute
It's
this
pretty
and do
it's
just
pretty
fine.
big mouthfeel to it as well. I mean, it like once it's in your mouth, like it's not going away for a little while.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. Wow.
It tends to spread around a little bit, although it doesn't cling to the glass too crazy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't leave a big ring around the glass. But I will say, at 14%, it's surprisingly not as boozy as I was expecting. It's, you know, because when it says 14% on the can, you know that before you take the first sip. I mean, we've had stouts and barley wines on the show before that were
You
in
just
this
smell
neighborhood,
the
and
booze,
boy,
yeah.
are they boozy. You really know it. This one is just, it's lots of flavor, and it is a little bit boozy, but it's not as much as I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is good.
Oh yeah.
This is good. Oh, yeah.
We have to hand some over to James there.
Absolutely. Glad we saved some. 14%, so it doesn't take much. This is really good. Well, I tell you what, we have had just an absolute blast. I love doing the pipe show. I feel like I learned so much about the show because I'm not as knowledgeable about pipes as my partner here, but it's such a blast to come and talk to people who really know them and understand them. And one of the things I like about your shop is you'll do that with any customer that wants to come in and ask questions and learn about pipes as well. So it's not, it's not just for the show. I mean, these guys are in here every day talking to people, sharing what works for them, sharing what they think might work for you if you're just getting started or you already have some favorites. How many different pipe tobaccos do you have just in general?
So I tried to count at one point in time, and we may be down a little bit, but when I did that count, it was about 110 different tin tobaccos.
That's amazing.
And 110 bulk tobaccos. I know that bulk tobacco has been a little bit harder to source as of late, but that's what we have. And
That's still a hell of a selection. I mean,
Right.
seriously.
right.
Seriously. I mean, if you go into a lot of shops that stock some pipes and some accessories, you might find 20, 25 different styles of tobacco or different variations. But to say 100, 110, I mean, that's amazing.
That's actually crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. What is your absolute bestseller?
So the bestseller is probably The Accountant.
That's
good.
Ian's
That's
favorite.
good.
You love The Accountant, and you've given me some of that. It's quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, but I would say that two blends have sat next to one another, The Accountant and Black Russian, for 50 years.
Oh wow.
And I've sold more Black Russian than every other pipe tobacco combined
Wow, that's amazing.
over the years. But I think the newer generation is drawn to The Accountant for some reason, and I'm okay with that.
Hey, Ian, that makes you part of the new generation. How do you feel about that?
Wow, I'm almost beyond hipster now.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back to wrap up the show. Located in Houston's historic Rice Village, this is the Briar Shoppe. That's where we are on location. And this is Smoking and Toasting, show number 314. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and today especially also about pipes, because we've had super fun time here at the Briar Shoppe, the oldest tobacconist in the state of Texas.
That's
so
amazing.
So that makes it, by the way, for those of you who are visiting our fair city of Houston here, where we emanate the show from, that makes this a tourist spot for you.
Mm-hmm.
This needs to be on your to-do list when you come to Houston, because there's no other shop quite like this. We have, we have great relationships with a number of the tobacco shops around this town, but none of them are quite like the Briar Shoppe, especially if you're interested in pipes. So this has been so much fun. Bill, thank you for hanging with us today, for sharing some of your guys' time with us, and for setting us straight. I'm still not as good as I need to be. Like, I'm still struggling to keep this lit, but I am doing better. So I'll be practicing and learning about how to do it. Like anything else, I suppose there's a bit of art to it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become doing it, until one day I'll be like Ian and I'll have 20 pipes and be able to do the pointing thing with the long stem.
This one's not bad. I've relit it once.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, no, twice, because I set it down twice. Sorry.
And what tobacco are you smoking in that, Ian?
That's Accountant.
That's Accountant, okay. So Accountant keeps coming up. As you said, that's your bestseller.
It is.
And I'm not surprised, because it
You
is
have the rum one. You have the
very good. Yes, although this bowl, I actually used some of what James left in this
gotcha.
ashtray. So this
the
one
Virginia
is the Give Me Liberty, Seattle Pipe Club. And it's quite good. It's quite good. I like it. It's very aromatic, very, kind of tingly on the tongue aromatic, which I really do like. So we haven't talked too much about this, but we are excited to announce that we have signed a deal with USA Audio and Radio Networks for Smoking and Toasting to become a syndicated program available to broadcast radio. And from what we understand, we're going to be slotted into their we don't have a start date for this yet, but it should be coming up in the next month or so. We'll be slotted into their programming between the hours of 2 and 4 on Saturday afternoon. So stations that carry their programming around the country will be carrying Smoking and Toasting, and maybe exposing us to some new people who don't spend as much time with podcasts or whatever that may be. So we're excited about this. It's underway, and it will mean it won't mean any changes to the content of the show, other than Ian can't have Chris Hart on and let him keep dropping F-bombs all the time.
There's that.
But other than that, there won't be any real changes to the content of the show, but there may be some changes as to what day the show is available.
Right.
So we'll keep you guys up to speed on all that as it develops. But we're really excited. After 314 episodes, it's really quite an honor that they've asked us to join their radio network. So it's a pretty cool thing.
I'm pretty excited about that.
So pretty excited about it indeed. We have some cool things coming up on the show. Next week on this very program, Sean Hanrahan will join us. He's with Platypus Brewing.
Yeah,
and
they're fun.
they have some great beers. And a lot has changed at Platypus since the last time.
There's been a couple years since we've seen them.
A lot has changed, including ownership and management and brewmasters and all kinds of things have changed. And it's a really cool and fun place. My birthday party was there a few years back. It was a lot of fun. And then coming up the following week, Abby Heim will join us. Abby is involved with something called Pink Boots. It is about women in the craft beer industry, and she's also involved with Great Heights Brewing in the Heights here in Houston, and they have incredible beers. I was drinking some of their Blue Tile IPA just yesterday, and it was absolutely delicious. So in any case, we have some great things coming up on the show, and we are very excited to have been able to do today's show from the Briar Shoppe, and I will most definitely be hitting the humidor on my way out. So thanks again, Bill, and to James for being on. Come check out the Briar Shoppe if you're in the greater Houston area, and thank you for checking out our show. We'll be back with you again next Thursday. Show posts at 1 p.m., and we can't wait to talk to you then until we have a chance to smoke and drink together. Cheers.
Cheers, Joe.